best bets. As is tradition, we start with last week's winners first. Seeing as how Hitman bailed on us to go skating with his wife or whatever he's doing, something like that, it's going to be on me first this week for the best bet. I'm going to go back to another total for this week's game. I'm looking at the Seattle Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like the under 42 at -112. Long caption here because there's different numbers at different sports books. Good to 42, -122. You can also play 41.5, so I'm fine with that, up to -117. First and foremost, I don't like the matchup for Geno Smith, and I don't like the way Geno Smith is playing, generally speaking. But you look at last week against the Tennessee Titans, this was a team that the Seattle Seahawks should have been able to throw on with a lot of success. Titans with major injuries in the secondary, in the front seven. They couldn't really get that going. They're still a very conservative offense that wants to run the ball, and then they throw when they have to. But you look at the style of defense that Pittsburgh plays, top 7 rates of both cover 1 and cover 3. Those are the only 2 defenses where Geno Smith has a negative EPA per play, and he struggled against man his entire life. So I don't think that they're just suddenly going to move the ball. On the other side of things, Mason Rudolph, great performance last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot of that was yards after the catch, especially early on in the game. I just think that you're going to see some sort of regression from Mason Rudolph if he starts again, because he's not very good. Now, technically, Kenny Pickett can still play in this game. I factored all that into the equation, but I still like the under in some capacity. 2 very conservative coaches, don't take a lot of shots downfield, like to run the ball, like to trust their defense, love to punt from midfield. I think that this is a little bit too high. So give me the under in the Seattle Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, before today's show, producer Jason, he gave me a ring. Called me up on the phone. Said, Rob, it took Hitman 16 weeks, but he finally passed me in wins. He's now up to 2. He wants to milk his second win for multiple weeks. Give me a shot to equal him in wins this year. Basically, Jason gave me the put me in coach speech. I'm going to get it done. He's 1-0 on the season, looking to improve to 2-0 and to match Hitman on his season win total. Jason, you get a best bet this week. Who's it going to be and why?
All right. Everyone can see below my name, it says hashtag the market is wrong. It takes a lot of chutzpah to come on here and say that, but I'm going to go with that. All right. So I'm going to start out and we're going to look at the Broncos. We're going to take the Broncos -3. It moved on the show, was -114. We're going to take it at -115 here. We know how it happened. We know what happened. The line opened up at -5.5, moved to -106. Russ gets ruled out. Now at that -3, -3.5. I like the -3 here. I'm a fan of the Broncos defense. They've been a top 10 defense in EPA per play over the last 4 weeks, even though, like Eric said, it has been a lot to do with turnovers. But hey, I still like this defense going up against a Chargers offense that has been absolutely putrid since Easton Stick has kind of taken over the football here. The only thing I'm worried about is explosive plays from the Chargers, but I doubt the Chargers will be able to put up any explosive plays at all here. Denver is a little bit susceptible to the explosive plays here. Last year as well, Hitman told me to step in front of the Stidham train. He told me to take the Niners against the Raiders. I'm going to flip it around, Hitman. I'm taking Stidham this time. So give me the Broncos -3 at -115 here. Good to -3 at -120 here. Listen, these guys gave a good enough breakdown. So listen to them, not me, but I'm going to go lock it in as my best bet for this week.
All right. Jason, -3, -115 on the Broncos. Gives out the pick on the Broncos while wearing the Chargers jersey. Always jersey. Love when that works out that way. Supporting way too many teams today. Two mixed messages coming from the hockey hat and the Chargers jersey. But I digress. Eric, you were off the last couple of weeks, which means that you didn't lose. That's always good. But prior to that, you actually had a nice little run going with these Chargers unders, which hit back-to-back weeks. I don't think it's going to be Chargers under again for you. You're going somewhere else this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Minnesota, where I'm actually currently at, and I'm going to take Green Bay getting points in the US Bank Stadium against the Minnesota Vikings. I make the game closer to plus. It's basically a pick 'em here. The way that I look at it is Jordan Love has a lot of characteristics statistically that Baker Mayfield has, and Baker Mayfield torched this defense just a couple weeks ago. When you look at average depth of target, Jordan Love is 6th in the NFL. Baker Mayfield is 5th. When you look at kind of the downfield passing game for Green Bay, now they don't have the same weapons that Tampa Bay does, but Green Bay resurrected, for example, Chris Godwin from the dead in the previous matchup. I think that he can do the same with, they can do the same with Christian Watson if he were healthy enough to play, but also, the likes of Dontavius Wicks and guys like that. On the other side of the ball, Nick Mullins has been very efficient moving the football, which is a good thing for the Vikings. He's turned the ball over a ton. I think where everybody's looking at the turnovers and saying they're going to regress without even looking at the fact that Nick Mullins over the course of his career has been up and down as far as efficiency's sake. So I do see maybe not as many turnovers, of course, from Mullins, but I don't see them as efficient. Brian O'Neill was out last week. He's still banged up. TJ Hawkinson tore his ACL and MCL. He's been the second best pass catcher on that team. And Jordan Addison right now is day-to-day, with an injury as well. So they could be going into that game with Justin Jefferson and little else on that offense, we need everything we can get to help Joe Barry. And I think the Vikings injury report is coming up big there. So I like Green Bay getting the points here on the road against Minnesota on New Year's Eve night.
I'll give you a quick chance to rebut Jefferson versus no Jair, though.
Well, they weren't going to cover him with Jair anyway. They were going to cover him with Preston Smith. So nothing changes. My handicap changes nothing.
Well said. By the way, I love that Jair. We'll get to Suma's best bet in a second, but I cannot believe they suspended him for a game in the midst of a playoff race. Like, is this not I get it. Sometimes you got to discipline your kids. You shouldn't have been out there for the coin toss. I don't know. I can't, I'm still in shock that there's actually a suspension here when, you look at the cornerback room and it's not exactly the greatest, but I'm like, am I out to lie? Do you disagree, Eric?
They might be so far away from the Vikings receivers though, Rob, that Nick Mullins might hit him right in the chest. Like that's what I think they're banking on, is that separation, is going to match perfectly the angles and all those things with the Nick Mullins passes. So you may think it's a bad thing that Vikings receivers are 5 yards away from the corners, but that's exactly where the Packers defensive backs need to be to catch the balls from Nick Mullins.
It's true. Accuracy. I mean, I've watched a lot of Nick Mullins, and I can tell you it's a journey. Or as you would say, Eric, it's a true privilege. Suma, you saw some Nick Mullins last week, unfortunately. He gave you the Tommy DeVito treatment, we'll call it. Wasn't good. But you have a chance to rebound here to close out 2023, in the win column. Who are you using, this week as your best bet?
This week, I cannot lose with a quarterback like Nick Mullins. This week, I can lose with Matthew Stafford. Going with the Rams here after that sweet line move down towards -4.5. Rams on the road. I think that at least per my numbers, there's a bigger discrepancy than 4.5 points between these two teams right now. I don't trust Tyrod Taylor behind that offensive line. We talked about it, to go toe-to-toe with what I think is a top-notch Rams offense. Yes, Giants D might give Matthew Stafford a few issues stylistically, but I think that the foundation of the Rams with their strong Kyron Williams run game will set up enough plays to hit the Giants defense with big plays down the field. Rooting for a wire-to-wire Rams win, and maybe this week the quarterback turnovers will be on the other side of the ball.
All right. That's going to do it for us in the Week 17 Best Bets edition here on Forward Progress.